My name is Hayley. I am the founder of the Giving Day Gurus, and I'm delighted to have been invited here today to be part of Forumm, the Forumm Academy's first webinar in their Academy series. So I'm hoping that you're all grabbed your cup of tea and your sandwich ready to have a nice hour learning a bit about compelling cases for support over your lunch breaks. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. I will give it a couple of seconds just to let some more people join, and hopefully that David comes back on and we can have our little pre-chat. So I think, as David was saying before, there is a chat. So if you have any questions as we go through, please feel free to type your questions in the chat. We will be doing a Q&A at the end. So if you just want to save them up and join the breakout room at the end and ask your questions in person, you can do that too. If we spot them and there are questions that we can answer as we go along, I'll definitely be doing that. Otherwise, we will have a good chat later. So while we're waiting, I will just give you a bit more background on me. So I've been working in the communications and marketing space for fundraising departments for the last 12 years or so. I moved to Australia, where I started working at YWCA New South Wales, which was a charity for disadvantaged young people and adults in Sydney and around New South Wales. And that's where I really decided that fundraising and communications for fundraising was for me. Then I went to the University of Sydney and I did marketing for the advancement portfolio. So I was part of the team that ran the first ever Giving Day in Australia. That's how I've got onto doing the Giving Day Gurus, where I am at today. And also working on things like fundraising proposals and big appeals and events. And then I moved back to London and I went to work for London Business School. And that's where I did a very similar role. And I was working with the teams there for advancement, alumni and donors. So things like their reunion activities and launching the first ever Giving Day in England. And now I run the Giving Day Gurus. I started that at the end of last year, which is really consultancy and training, advice and hands-on support for anybody that needs it in the fundraising space. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that okay. Just pop a note in the chat if you can. Give me a thumbs up, say yes, all good. And I'm going to kick off. So as we said before, today is all about talking about building compelling cases for support. How can you really engage your alumni community, your potential donors, maybe your parents if you're a school? How can you really engage them in your fundraising cause in a way that is compelling and inspires them to not only engage, but hopefully give to you too? And so there are 4 areas we're going to look at. We're going to look at creating universal appeal, and we'll also look at a little bit around how do you tailor your ask while still being universal. And that's not always easy, but it is possible. We'll look at preparing your community for an ask. So not just about you being prepared, but how do you actually educate your entire audience about your cause so that when you do eventually give a direct ask, they are ready. We'll talk about authentic storytelling, and we'll cover video a bit in that and why it's really important to sort of speak from your true cause, your heart of the business, and balancing those emotional and rational appeals as well, because you're going to have those donors that are really emotionally driven and you'll have those that are more business minded, but it's important to have the two. So we'll cover all of that. So before we go any further, let's just talk about what I mean by a case for support. For me, this is your extended elevator pitch. It's your reason for being. You'll probably know some of it by heart. It will definitely sit on the landing page of your giving site on your website. And it really is the foundation of all your fundraising communications. So you'll probably have a good size case for support. You might have a web page, a couple of pages, and you'll draw on that. You'll pick elements of it for the different areas of your fundraising, whether that's a speech, whether it's a direct mail appeal, whether it's a giving day. So you'll really draw from it, but it really is the foundation of everything you will talk about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is creating that universal appeal. And For me, I find it quite difficult to say universal appeal as a communications person, because I'm always talking about how important it is to tailor your ask, to tailor your communication to your particular audience. But as I said before, your case for support really is the foundation of everything you will do. And so it has to be fairly generic without trying to do the job of everything in one go. So as I said before, it is the foundation, and you'll kind of build on that. Think of it like the foundations of your house. You're not going to add your windows and your curtains and your lovely pictures until you actually know the basics of, you've got the basic shelter. So if you're building your case for support for the first time, start with your key messages. Start with 5 to 6 bullet points covering the essential information you want to get your audience to take away. And if you didn't hear this bit before, I said don't do it alone. Try and pull some people in from across your team, across your department, across your school or your university, to really try and get some diverse perspectives, to take a step back and look at why it is that people would support your institution. What are the things that they value? How do your values align with theirs? And it's actually a really great opportunity to bring in some of your potential donors. Bring in your alumni. Ask a handful of them that you know and that know you to come and workshop some of these messages with you, or your existing donors if you have them, or your prospects. So just welcome those people into the fold and really get to know your audience, because that's a really big part of creating a case for support, is knowing who you're talking to. So that is where we got to with that. And then I said you probably have a number of places that a number of causes you're raising money for. So you might have research, scholarships, bursaries, buildings, equipment. You want to start with a general case for support. You want to set the scene with your ambitions and your goals, and then you want to go into the individual cases where you can actually start to build out the detail and add in the real need for those particular areas. So for me, it's really difficult to have a one-size-fits-all, to just get everything into that one case for support if you are fundraising for different areas. So set the scene and then dive into those individual areas. So I think the best way of explaining what a great case for support is to show you a live one. And I'm a really big fan of the University of York. I think they do it really well. They have been fundraising for quite a long time. They have a well-established team. They have really prepared their audience well. So I'm going to caveat all of this with they are a team that know what they're doing and they have the resources to do it. But I'm going to just hopefully seamlessly share my screen from this one into the live University of York website. So bear with me whilst I do that. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see the University of York's website. Brilliant. So I am going to go through this. So that's York Unlimited. So York Unlimited is their campaign. They've been doing this for quite some time. And I'm going to start by going through the priorities. So this is their scene setting. First of all, they start with a really lovely photo, a really lovely picture of real images, and they're going to talk about their priorities. Before they even do anything, they're already giving you the scene. They want you to donate, or they want you to give your time. I'll just read this out. The University of York exists for public good. Our founders endowed the university with a strong social purpose, drawing on a rich tradition of social justice and combating inequality in a way that is distinctive to the City of York. We invite you, our global community of staff, students, alumni, and friends, to join us on this mission to improve lives. You are the key. We will connect you to projects that enable brilliant minds to think differently to solve the challenges of the world today. We have identified 4 priority areas which you can support through gifts of money and time. By supporting these areas, we will create new ways to tackle inequalities and new ways to help every student to succeed. Together, there are no limits to what we can achieve. Now, there are so many things that I love about that, and I'm going to talk through a few of them before we get into the detail of their detailed case for support. They start with who they are and what they exist for. The University of York exists for public good. straight away we get a sense of what they might be asking us to raise money for. They talk about their founders and their strong social purpose and their rich tradition of social justice. So we know that they know who they are. They've got a really strong sense of self. They know what they exist for. So first of all, that's telling you that they are confident in who they are and what they want to achieve. And that's really important, sort of instilling that confidence in your community, because if you're not confident and you don't know who you are, how do you expect your community to? So the next bit, where we invite you, our global community of staff, students, alumni, and friends. The you language is really important in a case for support. You want to know, you want to talk directly to the reader. You want them to know that this is about them. They're also highlighting the different areas of their community, so staff, students, alumni, and friends. So you're likely, if you're reading this, to be one of those. And so you would instantly know that this is actually about you. And they even say it, you are the key. They are the connectors. We will connect you to projects that enable brilliant minds to think differently, to solve the challenges of the world today. So really, they're solving a problem that you might have. If you're looking for somewhere to give, they're the connectors. They're the ones that are going to help you solve the challenges of the world today. So it's actually providing you a solution, which is really nice. And we have identified 4 priority areas which you can support through gifts of money and time. 2 things there. They've identified, so they've done their research, they know their stuff, they've actually spent some time looking at what might be their priority areas. And then they've decided that there are 4. And that's important too, because 4 is quite a nice number. If you suddenly end up with 10 different priorities, how do you actually convey that they are priorities? If everything's a priority, then nothing is. So really think about what it is that is important for you to be fundraising for. As we go through, and I'll talk to this a little bit later as well about the layout and actually using some of these pull quotes and real people. But I want to go into one of those 4 priorities that they talked about, and that's a university of opportunity. So again, some really lovely imagery of real people. You've got some key statistics along the top there. So if you are busy, if you are in a rush, you've got some of the scene setting at the top here. Now, we have the overall scene setting. We've gone into the scene setting now for this particular case for support. So the University of Opportunity Fund is a new philanthropic initiative launching in 2024. It encompasses our big ambition to be the university of opportunity in the UK. I'm not going to read this whole thing out. I'm not going to spend the whole time reading through the University of York's website. But what I really love about this is this last paragraph. Are we there yet? Not just yet, but we will be. We challenge York to be the University of Opportunity, and we challenge you to be the reason we can be. This is authentic. This is owning it. This is saying, no, we're not there yet. We know it, but we will be. And that commitment, that really strong sense of we know we're going to do it. We are putting our hand up. We are saying we are going to get there. It's about confidence again. They believe in themselves. They're going to do it. But they're challenging themselves, and they're challenging you to be part of it. And straight away, you've got the opportunity to do it by actually clicking this button here at the bottom and giving. So I just think that strong language is really important here. So they've set the scene, and then they've gone into the need. Again, what I love about this is this imagery. So they start to talk about the actual external factors that are influencing why they're fundraising. So this case here, talking about the need, is the internal and external reasons. So in 2022, 1 in 37 students in the UK left university before completion. In the same year, we saw a 50% increase in scholarship applications. More than 1,000 students applied for our York Opportunity Scholarship, with funding only available to support 200 of them. Clear. There's no hiding here. They are very clear about the wider issue, the issue of the day. They even talk a little bit later around, the cost of living crisis and how that's impacting. So it's very topical. It's very now. This image of them doing their supermarket shopping actually immediately makes you realise these are real people. This is what student life is like. And yeah, looking around, looking at the prices and trying to figure out, can I afford to buy this? Do I need to go to work an extra day this week to do it? So they are really demonstrating the external need there. And this last line here, we do not accept this, do you? Again, really strong. And they're asking you a question. They're saying, do you think this is okay? Do you think it's okay that these students are going to be dropping out, that they can't afford to go to university? Do you think it's okay that there's such a gap between what we're able to offer and the people that need us? So setting the need, explaining the problem is a really big element of your case for support. And then they start talking about, they know the impact, and they dive in a little bit later around into the specific scholarships. And as I said, York is very comprehensive. But they actually use then real people here. And we've got some more statistics, and we've got this quote here. So when I received the York Opportunity Scholarship, it was like a pressure meter going down and down. I don't have to worry constantly. It allows me to be self-sufficient, and it means I can spend more time studying and being social. It has inspired me to say, if I'm ever in a situation where I'm able to give back, I will. So what we have here is a real person. We have a real quote. And then we have some real statistics. The scholarship provides financial support for 3,300 over 3 years. Really specific. You know exactly what's needed. Here, as I said before, they talk about the cost of living crisis increasing the pressure on households. And they talk about their existing donors as well, the impact that their existing donors are having. And this is really interesting to see this donors by graduation decade. I don't often see that, and I'd be really interested to chat to York a bit further about how they feel this works and this inspires their donors. But actually, it is an element of social proof, and it demonstrates that other people are giving, and people that from your graduation year might also be getting involved in giving as well. And constantly, will you help another student at York to succeed? They're drawing you in, they're asking you these questions. The other thing I'm going to just say is a little bit around what the layout of this. So real imagery, real statistics. This donate button is really important, as well as the language that you're using within your case for support. It's the ease of giving and the opportunity for them to click through at the moment that they're feeling inspired. So if that's straight away, donate today, I'm going to go through. Give now. Again, this looks at different language, and what it'd be really interesting to see their tracking on this, to see which buttons people are clicking, whether it's just at the top, whether people respond more to give or donate. And that's something that you can do within your own fundraising pages if you set up some tracking to actually see what is motivating people. And you can change that. You can do some A/B testing, and over time you can adjust the language and the buttons that you're using. I'll help. Really proactive, again, speaking to the donor. Yes, I can help. What difference can I make? Some more impact, and donate today. The other thing that they have, more quotes, I'll make a gift, and they've got contact details at the bottom. So there's really no excuse not to be able to get involved and make your gift. So I will stop sharing that for a second. Hopefully that has provided a bit of insight. Bear with me one second. So what we've talked about there, and I would really encourage you to spend some time going through the University of York's website, because that was a bit of a whirlwind tour. But please do have a look at how they've set the scene, they've explained the problem, they provided a solution, and that is a really big part of when you're actually trying to encourage people to get involved, is you present the problem and you provide a solution. A really good fundraising friend of mine says it's not about asking people, it is providing them with opportunities to solve a problem. And I do think that's really true. And you want to demonstrate the impact. So those quotes, those real people are really important parts of that. And you can build on that. You can build on those stories from the quotes of those people as well. And that is the end of that section. And I know we're going to go into a bit of questions at the end, but if anybody does have any immediate burning questions.
I've got actually a couple of questions here for you, Hayley. I just want to say I love that section. I love the York case study. I think from a language perspective, those different buttons, are amazing to see what's actually working, or to just use different call to action. Like language is amazing, but I really loved the mix of language with imagery with that supermarket picture, because it sort of builds a real case of like empathy, right? Of like, it's not just students it's individual people that are checking. And we've all, we went to university first year a lot of time. I'm sure we were all like that. We were all looking to see what the best is. So, yeah, brilliant. In terms of questions, I've got a couple here for you that I'd love you to kind of tackle. Firstly, would be, what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced when trying to create a universal appeal in your case for support with your previous kind of work and your current consultancy?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because it is really hard. I think what I've done in the past is try and do too much, try and pack it all into one big case for support. And actually, you do that because you're trying to appeal to lots of different people. And you're not thinking about universal support. You're thinking about, well, this person might like that and this person might like that. And you're scared that if you don't pack it all in, then you're going to, somebody's going to not be inspired. But actually, you end up diluting it down, and you create this really long and boring thing that's just full of things you want people to know about, not necessarily inspiring stories and concise kind of descriptions and impact statements. So yeah, I think for me, it's taking that moment to go, am I just spouting everything that I want people to know, or am I actually creating something that's I'm going to say the word compelling, but because I feel like I'm going to overuse that today, but interesting, inspiring. Does it really speak to what my mission is, or the institution's mission, and our end goal?
Yeah. And speaking of, people want to hear it, right, and want to listen. That's great. I'm actually aware of timing because of a few of our glitches, so maybe I'll just let you rattle on, because we've got about 10-12 minutes before the Q&A. So yeah.
That's fine. We can whiz through. That was the longest section, so we can whiz through the next bits. That's fine. Okay, so the next thing is preparing your community for ask. So once you're really clear on that case for support, once you've got that nailed, you want to think about how you're going to communicate that to your audience. And I'll use a giving day as an example here before we get into this. Is if you have never fundraised before, or you've done a little bit but you haven't really done a big ask, and you suddenly start with a giving day. Giving days are fantastic. They are great ways to engage your community. They're going to help you increase your volunteers. They're going to help you raise awareness of your cause. They are going to help you raise money. But if you just do one straight off the bat without kind of educating people about the fact that you are a fundraising institution, you are a charitable institution, and the impact that you want to have, it's going to be really jarring. They're going to kind of be a bit like, hang on a minute, I didn't even know you were fundraising, and now you're suddenly asking me to raise X amount in 24 hours. So it's really important to do some preparation work. So there are a few ways that you can do that. Create a community. You might already have this, which is brilliant if you do. A lot of alumni councils, alumni committees, mentoring opportunities, things like that actually engage your alumni and your community back into your institution, and start thinking about how you can introduce that case for support into those community elements as well, so you can start to tell them a bit about why fundraising is important for your institution. So educate and inform. So that's where you really want to kind of start drip feeding that information, your case for support, throughout different channels of communication. So don't just put it all out there in one go. Think about, you'll have it on your website, on your landing page. You might have a regular newsletter. You might want to put an impact story, so that comes down to real stories. Put in that a quote, or you might do a little video piece from your leadership around a great story that you told that you want to put out on your social media channels. So think about the appropriate channels and start drip feeding the elements of the case for support. So pull from that foundation and start putting it into your communications ahead of when you want to really start doing a direct fundraising ask. And, I'd probably say you want at least 6 months, if you've never fundraised before, to start building that awareness up, because not everybody's going to be on your channels all the time. You can use feature stories, video messages, and social posts. So be really smart with it as well. So think about, if you have one great scholarship story, create a feature, like a 1,000-word feature that might sit on your website. Do an edit of that for your social posts. Do a smaller edit of it for, speech notes. You might then ask that person to come in and do a video. You might take some pull quotes for that for your website, or to sit in your appeal. So see how far you can stretch your piece of piece of communications basically, and do a communications plan for each piece. Because what I often find is that you'll do this really great, amazing video and it goes out on one channel and that is kind of it. So you want to make the most of it, because even if the same people are seeing the same story, that's great. You're just reinforcing the messaging, and the chances are it's not the same people anyway. I said this before, so I'll skip over this very quickly because I am conscious of time, but be consistent, seize those opportunities, capture the moment. Don't worry about being perfect. If there is an opportunity to go and get a quick video somewhere, just do it on a smartphone, get it out on your social. I think there's a nervousness sometimes that we have to get this production company in, it's going to cost money, and we have to do a really great film, but actually you don't. And this kind of water the seed and grow the narrative. Just start peppering these stories in, and you will build on them as time goes. And actually that seed is, you're planting that seed within your audience that you are a fundraising institution, and they're going to gradually come along this journey with you. So tell those stories regularly as well. Don't be afraid to use donor stories as well. Show the other perspective. Why do they give? What are their motivations? Provide some social proof. And there is a video, but what I might do is share this later rather than spending the time going through this, that I did at the University of Sydney. And it was a really lovely dual kind of screen of the donor and the recipient, and they're talking about the reasons why they give, and then the impact that that recipient either is having or wants to have. So that was a mixture of research, scholarships, fundraising for the vet school. So somebody that had lost their dog, they had then decided to give a legacy gift in their name of their dog to the institution. So some really authentic, personal and emotional stories as well.
I think there were little clues that I would eventually wind up in civil engineering.
My mother did encourage me to become an engineer.
We're hopeful that this gift can not only assist our grandchild, but of course assist many other people.
To find a drug, a treatment that controls these seizures is just an incredible outcome.
You get to a stage in your life when you think that you want to do something special.
My goal is to help find a cure for type 2 diabetes.
My goal is that, in fact, it will be found.
When our beautiful bull mastiff Maple passed away, we decided to give to remember her.
The funds that Catherine has donated are really essential to try and get to the bottom of the cancer-causing genes.
Thank you so much. The scholarship makes a great difference.
We've made such great steps that I could have never imagined.
And we have a great deal of confidence that...
So I won't run it to the end, it's nearly there, but you get the idea. So essentially what you want to do is provide that hope and solutions for your audience. So tell the stories of overcoming adversity, really dig into the detail, and provide them opportunities to be part of the solution. And make it a two-way conversation. Invite feedback, invite that dialogue. It's really important to understand how your case for support is landing as well, and make people feel like they're part of the conversation. And finally, before we jump into the Q&A, just a quick one on balancing emotional and rational appeal. So you're going to have those different types of donors, like I said at the beginning, those that are really bought into your mission. They really believe, I call them believers. They really believe in what you do. They might have had an amazing time at university or at your school, and they just want to give back because they believe in the power of education. And then you'll have your sort of more rational, business-minded donors who really want to understand how this fits within your strategy. So a few key tips for that. You want to avoid being too generic when you're talking about emotional. You really want to draw out the backstory behind it. Those lines around the scholarship changed my life. Great. You really want to go into how did the scholarship change my life? How did I feel? If you find that difficult, bring in the experts to really dig down and do that journalistic kind of look and ask when you're doing the interviews with those people, and fill in the gaps. So, you want to sort of tell that donor story as well, or a parent story for the scholarship as well. Build a business case. So tell your more business-minded donors about how this fits in with your overall strategy. How is a giving day, for example, going to bring in new donors? And then what will you do with those new donors next? So you're building your pipeline. So again, just being open and having that communication with them, and invite their opinions, because if you do ask them for their thoughts, they are more likely to be invested and share their thoughts, and then hopefully give as part of that as well. Create that sense of urgency. So demonstrate why the need is now, and that you can do that through the emotional side of things, but also that rational side in terms of we have a deadline for raising this money because. Explain the consequences of not giving, and then adjust your tone if you need to. So this is where the universal then goes into the tailored approach, because you will then get a sense of which donors are more rational and which donors are more emotional, and then you can play up either one when you're having that conversation. And so that was it. We are pretty much just on time for the Q&A. It is a long game. Building a case for support is it's time consuming, but when you've got it right, and you're starting to find out who your audience is, and you're asking for that feedback, you will start to have those wins, and you should celebrate them along the way. I've talked very quickly. I'm going to stop. Stop sharing my screen.
There was probably a bit more kind of content, so we will send out the slides to all the kind of attendees, and we'll send out an edit of the video if they'd like to go through it again, along with the sort of video that you produced with the University of Sydney, and if there's any other piece of content. And yeah, I think it's just amazing to see how general messages could feel really personable, with especially with the University of York, and you sort of think, okay, well, you can make mass messaging sort of feel like it's talking to the individual, and it's those call to actions. It's pulling at the heartstrings.
So important. I think, yeah, really those visuals, as you said before, with the supermarket, actually some people are really visual people, and some people just like to see the key points. So those pull quotes from real people, actually they're essentially the key messages that they would have workshopped at the beginning. So if that's all you have, that's really important.
Okay, well, I've got a few more questions I'd like to ask, but maybe we can see if anyone else has questions in the breakout room. So
absolutely.
Let everybody know again how to get there. It's on the left-hand side of your screen, which is my right here. Yep, you'll be able to see, maybe it's down here. There's a door icon. If you click that, it says breakout rooms. Then once you're there, it says enter the breakout rooms by clicking again. And hope to see everybody there. And thanks again, Hayley. See you in a second.